And welcome to the 28th installment of UnSpun, and I'm your host, Jan Irvin. Today, Joe Atwill had a family emergency, and he can't be with us, unfortunately. But Hans Utter is here, as we had scheduled a couple of weeks ago, so we're glad to have him back. And Hans, good to have you here.
Likewise. Glad to be here.
And, we're going to be continuing in a lot of the discussion that we've been having in regard to the FM radio series that you and I did. But there's been ongoing research and new discoveries and things like that we wanted to touch on a little bit today. Where would you like to begin? And should we give a little bit of a rehash of where we left off last week?
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and do that, Jan, if you'd like to.
Well, Joe was going in a lot with the associations to the American Jewish Committee and the Fabian Socialists, etc., which tied into the Tavistock Institute and then into MK Ultra. There was also research discovered since your last time on that showed that Ewan Cameron, the famous MK Ultra researcher from up in Canada, was one of the doctors, psychiatrists on the Nuremberg trials, and he said that essentially that the German personality had to be wiped out. And and of course, Ewan Cameron is one of the most famous of all of the MK Ultra researchers for his hideous experiments. And we touched on we went into networks and that association as well, and broadening that. You can probably explain that better than I, but why don't you take it from there, Hans?
Well, Jan, I got to start out with kind of a disturbing note. I'm going to have to retract a lot of the stuff we've talked about because I just read Michael Foucault, and I realized the whole problem with my life, I wasn't having enough orgasms. So now I'm having 10, 12, 15 orgasms a day, and basically I'm now totally liberated. I'm completely free because of the lack of orgasms. My life I was a slave. So it's really exciting.
So now you've broken free with orgasms, and you're following Wilhelm Reich now, and you building an orgone machine?
No, in fact, I'm converting my entire house into a giant orgone box. And if you see the little,
all right, ladies and gentlemen, just for those who aren't catching on there, that's a touch of sarcasm and humor there.
It was supposed to be a fall down laughing thing. I guess that didn't quite happen, but that was a joke. But it was, it would be nice, to be honest. It would be nice if I could take a tab of LSD, if I could, have multiple sexual partners in the same week, and my life would be excellent. So society would change itself. Society would, have a revolution. We wouldn't have any more inequality. That would be fantastic. I mean, I wouldn't, if that was the case, life would be great. But unfortunately, it's not. And the reason I just wanted to, I guess my stand-up career I put that on advance for a while. But I thought that was pretty funny. I was thinking about that for a while. But this is the idea. I mean, here's the one thing to understand is that that when there's a lot of examples of this. I'll use a couple metaphors. One of them being the Amish, right? The Amish have a time they can go out. I don't know if it's a year. They get to go experience the world, do whatever they want. And then they can choose to return to their culture, right? Or their way of life.
Right.
In many cases of very stabilized and balanced societies that I've seen in front of my eyes, primarily, in Asia or wherever, where suddenly you introduce these values, you introduce hip hop values, you introduce commercialized, and you make people say, hey, you're not happy. You need to have this. This is really it's not really happiness. It's also the validation of yourself as a human being to, and so suddenly I've seen overnight entire very communities just annihilated because suddenly everyone is running after, they're throwing away their society because someone convinced them that they're not happy. And this you can see this
through commercialized hip hop and manufactured culture being spoon fed from the intelligence community.
Yeah, and let's if I piss off any women, I'd be happy to give you a hug. But I think the same thing is with feminism. I mean, you have feminism. Now, in no way I am supporting exploitation of anybody,
right?
Except for me. You women are welcome to exploit me. I mean, I'm totally down with that. But the fact is that, you look at...
Is that your wife I just saw peering over your shoulder?
Sorry?
Is that your wife I just saw peering over your shoulder?
I'm not married, Jan. I'm single. All right. Yeah. Okay. Let's see.
All right.
Okay. No, but feminism is a great example of that where, okay, again, when people are oppressed, right? That's different. But when you convince people that staying at home, raising a family, and if you want to have a career, that's fine. But suddenly you convince them that, no, you're not fulfilled because you're not working. You don't have you're not living in the hellish corporate world. And, you have a man open a door for you. It makes you a weak person and all this stuff. And you suddenly create this dissatisfaction, which you end up with, the trails of broken families, et cetera, et cetera. And you've touched on feminism quite a bit, but that's the exact same, corollary of this idea of creating this dissatisfaction where there is none and then offering a solution. Hey, you're dissatisfied. You're a bored housewife, become a feminist. Oh, the
old Hegelian dialectic. You create a false problem, then you give them a false solution. And then you have the middle ground there as the essentially the middle of the road fallacy, problem, reaction, solution as the outcome position, and they slowly nudge that along further and further to break up the family. Yeah,
well, just as an aside, I mean, that's the Hegelian dialectic. I think that is a simplification. It's not really. I mean, Hegel's position is far more complex. I mean, that is, you could say that's applying the dialectical model in a certain way. I mean, but I think the actual Hegelian dialectic is a little bit more interesting because he's looking at the evolution of culture and society where you have two opposing positions or two opposing systems that reach concludes and then create a third system.
Right.
And for Hegel, this was a evolutionary process that was occurring through the world spirit. You could say the zeitgeist, which would result in.
Unfortunately, that quote unquote world spirit can be managed, and anybody who doesn't know about it is victim to those who assume authority and that they're making the best decision for all of us. You put a bunch of Satanists in charge of this process, and it's not exactly a good thing.
No, exactly. And, one day I would like to definitely go through some of the philosophy stuff because I think that's also really foundational part of the issue. Trivium is one point, but then also what happened to philosophy and the fact that people have lost an understanding of the undergirding ideas that's creating the world around you. That's why I went off on network theory so much, because it's not really theory. It's descriptions of behaviors. Because if you don't know the systems, right, that are being deployed, it's kind of like it's like you're on a movie set and you think it's the real world. It's like you're living in a Truman Show, which I think is kind of in a certain way, the reality, that we're experiencing right now. And so, the importance of discourse, the importance of reason, not meaning that reason, okay, I will, what is it, the Brzezinski or whatever, cold politics, where hard politics, where, okay, well, or Madame Albright, oh, we killed 1 million Iraqi children, we think it's worth it. That is conflating a calculated decision with reason or rationality. And exactly, we're talking about the changing images of man and all that stuff, and the Aquarian conspiracy. That's taking a societal issue of a type of decision making, which is actually there's a guy named Lewis Mumford, who I think was a great scholar, wrote a book called The Pentagon of Power, but it's a life negating, it's an amoral code that is presupposed. And then you align that with reason. So reason becomes the enemy. And by taking LSD, by dancing naked in the mud at Woodstock, by going to orgies, orgies are great. I love orgies. I've never been to an orgy, guys. I don't think I'd want to go, but by indulging all of your baser instincts, becoming a slave to this instant gratification, and somehow
animal gratification, essentially.
Yeah. So I think that's a major, point, which, again, this is, I think that, well, I guess David Icke, as some people say, David Icke, but I think there could be lizards, man. I mean, I love lizards, but I hate lizard people if they are there. But the idea that, but the fact is that you're creating two polar positions. You first of all, you create dissatisfaction within a group, and then you create these polar positions to create a clash of society. Look at Samuel Huntington, the clash of civilizations. The whole war was predicted. So you have these models, and Francis Fukuyama, he's reiterating the Marxist ideology of the end of history, right? In the idea that capitalism and technology, we don't really have history because we've reached this golden age. Well, really? I don't think so, man.
This golden technological age where culture is essentially destroyed and replaced with strip malls and pop culture that essentially doesn't leave much of a history, unless you're into tracking manufactured pop culture. But these surviving or staying cultures that lasted for thousands of years are getting wiped out left and right, as you were discussing at the start of the show. And and you've studied that even through music, So, all right. So the oligarchs. What's new to talk about the oligarchs?
Well, I just want to reach out to. I've had some listeners contact me. I really appreciate it. It's really nice to see that the impact is coming through. So I had a conversation with one of the listeners to the show, and he just called me, got my number from the dating website. No, just joking. No, I'm not joking.
Tonight, Hans. What's up with you?
Yeah, I don't know. I just finished mixing 2 album projects. I've only slept about 3 hours in the past 4 days, and so I'm a little bit in the zone here. But basically, talking with him, we had some very interesting points that connected. He's several years older than me, but there's a lot of points, and some of these I wanted to bring up. One of them, which I found to be fascinating, was this guy had gone to a ton of Dead shows, and he talked about moments in Dead shows where everyone would smell the same fragrance. They'd see the same color in their mind and smell this fragrance and stuff like that. That's an example of very, very advanced level of when I talked about, infrasonic sound and stuff. If they're actually able to trigger specific sensory responses through sound, then we got Owsley Stanley, the bear. This guy is so much at the heart of this, even with the technological aspect, that was very interesting.
For those who don't know, he created the Dead sound system, and he was also the famous maker of Orange Sunshine LSD.
Yeah, and so just talking with him, because I went to a couple Dead shows. I had luckily, I have to say, I've been blessed by the Lord, whoever that may be. I remember I bought all these mushrooms. Bought this huge sack of mushrooms. I with my older guy took me to the show. I'm like, dude, I got a bunch of shrooms. They were teriyaki mushrooms. It's like you cook some Japanese food tonight. I'm like, dude, but that problem, when I was there, it just jogged my memory a bit, because he talked about, there's a very interesting facet there. You have these. There was like this cult there of people that like the Hare Krishnas. They give you like mimeograph sheets, the guys, street corner preachers, and these people were worshiping. They had this religion of the dead. and each one of Jerry, I don't know if you've ever seen that before. They had these like little pamphlets, but it turns out he told me these were the people that they had their own like little communes. They were transporting literally tons of LSD. These guys, they're in this weird cult that like basically worshipped, they had these like posters and these like little book, like brochures, and like Jerry is like this, avatar of Vishnu, and Jerry will lead you to this state, and Bill is this, and so on. So I had these, I just remember I got invited to one of their places, one of their mobile home thing. And it was really creepy, man. And I was like, 19 years old, but I still felt, like, when you walk into the Scientology and they hook up the electrodes and, record everything record the fact that you're doing gay hookups in the men's bathroom like Tom Cruise, and they can siphon off 50% of your income for the rest of your life. But I got a creepy feeling. But he said that these people on their like buses and stuff, they were distributing literally, they were the, prime LSD. I mean, we're talking about, shoe boxes full stacked of sheets of LSD on these things. And you think these guys are not getting busted? So I thought that was quite interesting. But the idea of what I want to say, this may seem anecdotal, which it is, but this touched on something that I've talked about. But the fact is, when he's talking about a group of people having this synesthesia, right? Synesthesia experience, you're hearing music, you're seeing a color, you're smelling a fragrance, and he said that the dead shows where that happened, they get the tickets and they were like sparkly tickets. They had little sparkles on the tickets. Okay. And he didn't know about it, but he said that he had groups of people had the exact same experience. I don't know, dozens of people. So what that indicates is actually a very, very advanced usage of this sound technology being deployed, on audiences on a very advanced experimental level, which, again, maybe, Area 51, maybe they're aliens, the Greys, the Greys are back there doing their stuff, hanging out, smoking bongs under the underground bunker. But you wonder if that just excited me to say, wait, we can actually, when I'm got the technological train, right, which connects with FM radio, connects to, these guys working with these technology mavens, military industrial guys like Owsley, they're developing this technology, and the dead shows are actually using psychotronic weaponry, on these people there. And I mean, or, in a sense of, and that's, that's, like I said, that's very, very advanced, because, at least in terms of the public domain, they say infrasonic sound. It's basically you directly operate on the central nervous system in the brain, because it's the frequencies your brain works on to get to that pinpoint accuracy. To make something happen like that indicates a very, very advanced level, but it also shows that these dead shows, not only are we just talking about this, but these people are a part of a 40-year, however many year open air mind control experiment. And then how about that little scientific paper I found from the Los Alamos laboratory, that analyzed every single Grateful Dead set ever done and did this experiment. So that right there, I think we have not only conjecture, and the late Dave McGowan, I love his work. I love what he did. The only thing is that I always felt like we need a little bit more. You can get too much into guilt by association. You need to develop a factual causal chain. You need to develop a factual causal chain that you can create evidence. This person did this person did that. I think we're coming to that point of where this stuff is starting to unearth some of this material. Los Alamos Nuclear Laboratory. National Laboratory. And embedded network sensing, that's exactly, we're talking about the control matrix of the entire, society, where everything you do is tracked, everything is controlled, your behavior is predictable through algorithmic models. And that's basically what this is. 1,590 sets. That takes some, how much time that takes and how much money that takes? Why would they do this paper?
Right. Yeah, unless like we've been saying, the Grateful Dead was a CIA SRI project all along, and that's, that seems pretty obvious, but.
Hey, Jan, can you play a song real quick for me? Can you play a Dead tune? Uncle Sam. I'm Uncle Sam, and I play in a rock and roll band. They're saying it right in your face with that song. They're telling you 100%, we're Uncle Sam. We're playing in a rock and roll band. They're in that song. They are giving, you talk about revelation of the method. They are saying we are CIA in that song. They're admitting it.
Yeah. So there we go.
I'm Uncle Sam. How do you do? Give me 5. I'm still alive. Ain't no luck. I learned to duck. Check my pulse. It don't change. Stay 72. Come shine or rain. Wave the flag. Pop the flag. Rock the boat. Skin the goat.
Skin the goat. The satanic reference. My pulse stayed 72.
Let me kill it.
Oh, sorry, we didn't.
There we go.
Oh, sorry to chime in there. We didn't get to the line where it says, I'm Uncle Sam, I play in a rock and roll band. But skin the goat, that's a satanic reference. 100%
Right.
satanic reference. And these are couched in the language of, oh, this is an ironic anti-war song. No, it's not. I learned to duck. What does that mean? Okay. My pulse stays 72. 7 and 2. This is an occult number. It's a reference to occult numerology. And in the next line, they talk about skinning a goat. The Grateful Dead, Robert Hunter, I mean, their lyrics are very intricate. I mean, they seem simple, but what it is almost like you hear the theme and your mind kind of goes blank. And then the other words, unless, you're totally into it and memorize the lyrics, they fly under the radar. You don't know what the lyrics.
Well, you have to know the occult meaning behind this stuff, like the goat reference, and we did the show on Pan a few months back, going into a lot of those references. But if you're just humming along, you just think it's a pretty little ditty. You don't understand that not just the Grateful Dead, but all of these bands have a ton of occult references in it. The Christian right back in the 80s and 90s, when they were going around saying that there was a lot of satanic references in the music, they weren't wrong. There really is. It's there.
Well, it's more than that. In that, I mentioned that, because again, the whole technological aspect, back in the first show we did, I mean, not with my book, but, the first with the Music, Mind, Occult Psychology, I talked about the fact that you have to connect with all these different tiers and layers, right? You can't just look at social demographics. You can't just look at, music industry. You have to look at technology. You have to look at the infrastructures of the technology. You have to look at the intellectual underpinnings. You have to look at the key players. But I'm going to go over these lyrics because if you look at the fact, I'd invite any listeners, Gnostic Media, people who have had those experiences at Dead shows of where they had a group of friends and they're having these kind of synesthetic experiences that were the same during particular songs. That is a smoking gun evidence that in fact this sound system was a psychotronic weaponry mass experimentation. But let me just go through the lyrics real quick to U.S. Blues. Red and white, blue suede shoes. So Righty said red and white. Red and white are the colors of Satanism, right? Red and white. And then you have blue suede shoes. That's rock and roll. But the way it's sung, you just think red, white, and blue. But it's actually red and white, blue suede shoes. So you've got that immediately juxtaposing the government military-industrial complex with rock and roll. I'm Uncle Sam, how do you do? Give me 5, I'm still alive. 5, the number of death, right? Grateful Dead. 5 is the number of death. 5 is the number of sacrificial ritual. I'm still alive. But give me 5, I'm still alive. You have each verse, you talk about the double bind, right? You have a positive and a negative, a line in each verse. Red and white, and then you have blue suede shoes. So red and white is actually, the words are slurred. So red, white, and blue, it's the government, it's the man, it's the system, right? And then you have blue suede shoes. So these two opposites, but they're saying they're the same. Give me 5, but 5 being the number of, okay, yeah, on the surface level, give me 5, bro. What's up, nigga? Give me 5, bitch. I have to be a little on PC, Jan. I've had a long day. I've gotten so PC'd out. I just feel like going over the top. But okay, ain't no luck. I learned to duck. So okay, so now we hear the first line. Oh, this is an innocent. No, not innocent. It's an anti-war song. It's an edgy. It's a fun anti-war song.
Sure.
Check pulse. It don't change. Stay 72. Come shine or rain. Wave the flag. Pop the bag. Pop the bag. I mean, I have to analyze these more, but wave the flag. Okay. Rock the boat, skin the goat. Rock the boat, skin the goat. I think pop the bag. I mean, I don't want to speculate, but wave the flag, pop the bag, rock the boat, skin the goat. Those are, I'd like to kind of get, obviously wave the flag. But
reference with the bag. I don't know.
Pop the bag, wave the flag and then ingest your drugs. That's the simplest surface meaning. Wave the flag, pop the bag,
Yeah.
or, and then rock the boat, become a rebel, skin the goat. Satanic blood sacrifice. Wave the flag, wave it wide and high. Summertime, done, come and gone, my oh my. That's almost like summertime, meaning the summer of love. It's come and gone. It's over. Now I'm Uncle Sam. That's who I am. Been hiding out in a rock and roll band. Shake the hand that shook the hand of P.T. Barnum and Charlie Chan. Dude, let me read that again. I'm Uncle Sam. That's who I am. Been hiding out in a rock and roll band. Shake the hand that shook the hand of P.T. Barnum and Charlie Chan.
Yeah, I mean, does it need to be any clearer, folks, that they're telling you that they're agents?
Dude, but these are really interesting because these are, again, there are, I mean, we talked about John Lennon before, some of his lyrics. You got the lyrics that seem like and there are stoner lyrics, right? I mean, I know I've probably written some, those guys are stoned out. The crystal mushroom God is dancing with me. These are highly articulate, very dense, almost like poetry, but with these hidden meanings, but also a subconscious psychological effect, triolite language, hypnotic projection. How many people, unless they're a hardcore Deadhead, know anything more of that song than the first line in the chorus? Wave the flag. No. Let's go a little further with the lyrics. Shine your shoes, light your fuse. So right there we have the explosion. We have the red and white and boom of the first verse being echoed. Shine your shoes, the blue suede shoes. Can you use them? Old U.S. blues. I'll drink your health. Not I'll drink to your health. I'll drink your health. The most people are going to hear, I drink to your health. I'll drink your health. I'll share your wealth. I will rob you of your life. Right there in your face. Run your life, steal your wife, destroy the family, control everything that you're doing.
Run your life, steal your wife. Yeah, I mean, they're controlling, steal your wife, break up the family. You think about the, Gloria Steinem and feminism and the whole, even the Grateful Dead's thing. How many people would go to a Dead show and drop some acid or do some mushrooms and free love it and go home and wreck their family after,
How many people? I mean,
I saw the Dead probably 8 times.
Give me a high five. Number 5, number of death, blood sacrifice, like Altamont. Go good. And this is amazing that this song, just think about it. I mean, that is Ice 9, I say a Kirk Vonnegut reference to that, but the last line, back-to-back Chicken Shack. So then we have Chicken Shack going, there's a Southern reference, country picking, back-to-back, but also the chicken is sacrificed back-to-back. You are like chickens, right? You're the animals in the assembly line to be sacrificed. Son of a gun, better change your act. Not, we're all confused. What's to lose? You can call this song United States Blues, because right now we have these nonsensical word plays.
I mean, they're basically telling you that that the song's being handed to you by the government as like a new anthem, right? United States.
Not even new anthem. I'm Uncle Sam hiding out in a rock and roll band. Shake the hand that shook the hand of Charlie Chan. P.T. Barnum. Right? We could look at what does that mean? The reference of P.T. Barnum and Charlie Chan. That I'm sure we could, I honestly didn't, I didn't like do an analysis of this before the show. When I brought up that Dead reference, I just thought of that. And it's like, where's P.T. Barnum? It's a sucker born every minute, but Charlie Chan, the detective. I mean, I think this, I won't spend much more time on this, but I mean, Finnegas Taylor Barnum, showman, but I mean, Charlie Chan, Chan. So Charlie Chan is the Chinese sage, detective, used to have these radio shows, but they also, credit. This is something, first of all, you'd saying this is just a normal rock song. There's a huge range of meaning. There is versification. There's interconnections between different lines, but I mean, not rain or shine, shine or rain is a constant inversion. But you want someone else to say that to you, that I'm hiding out in a rock and roll band. You're right here. You're right here with the Dead, right? Which is leading you, a la, Timothy Leary, through the Bardo State. The Bardo State, Tibetan Book of the Dead, which was the Bible of the psychedelic revolution. The Tibetan Book of the Dead, which is a guide for the soul, right? When, they do like however many 21 days of ritual after they believe the spirit stays around the body, and this guides that soul so they don't get reborn in a hell realm or whatever.
That's why the Dalai Lama has been a CIA agent since the 50s as well. Hey, I'm going to play this little clip here of Bob Weir. And we may have played this before, but it's a 4-minute clip. And it's discussing his time at Bohemian Grove and his buddy, General Bill McQuinn, who is the founder of the OSS. So those of you who are into the Grateful Dead and following them around and that sort of stuff, this is what you're really getting into.
From Further, what insights can you share?
Hopefully the sound is coming through loud enough on that.
Bohemian Grove.
Well, I'll tell you what, I don't talk much about the Bohemian Grove because, it's a place that people go to get away from the spotlight. A lot of relatively well-known guys are members of that club. Basically, it was founded 130 years ago or so by artists and writers, for artists and writers. And still, in order to get in, you have to have something to offer in that regard. A lot of the members are successful entrepreneurs or businessmen of one sort or another, but they all have an artistic bent. The stuff you hear about it in the rumor mill is, while entertaining, I've never caught any virginal sacrifices, anything kind of remotely like that. I've had some interesting times up there. And there are a lot of movers and shakers in that club, and I enjoy the chance, given my mindset, my Weltschmerz, if you will. I enjoy a chance to get together with those guys and knock a couple back and talk it down. One time I spent a weekend up there. I ran into a guy named General Bill Quinn, and we had a couple drinks together. We were sitting in front of a fireplace, and we just started telling. We we fell in together, and we started telling, war stories. He was the guy that Hermann Goering surrendered, not his sword, but basically it was a mace. He surrendered but he sought out Bill Quinn, Wild Bill Quinn, who was also the original head of the OSS, which became the CIA. Who was a very, very interesting guy. And we just went back and forth. We had a crowd of people gathered around us.
Good old Bob Weir hanging out with the original head of the OSS and CIA.
and notice, even in that language, right? He is talking in a way I would describe that as a Chomskyan answer, right? Just like Noam Chomsky. He's got the master of spin. Oh, there's no human sacrifices that I witnessed. He didn't say there's no human sacrifices that I witnessed. And he threw in the Weltsmert study showing that, oh, I'm a prep school. I'm part of this elite society for those that are hearing that. At the same time, there's a sort of a general level discourse for the average fan. He surrendered with a mace. Look at that. Right. Then we have an occult reference right in his discourse. And he said General Bill Quinn. And also there was Bill Quinn, the actor who was in the show The Rifleman, like the original shooter, the original assassin. But, Wild Bill Quinn, Buffalo Bill Quinn. Buffalo Bill, who did you kill? Buffalo Bill Quinn, the Beatles talk about it. So he was known as Buffalo Bill Quinn. Okay? And so Director of Public Information for the Army. Not only OSS, Director of Public Information. What does that mean? Propaganda. It means liaisoning with newspapers, movie producers, radio stations, telling them what they can play, what they can't play. So we won't go into that whole.
And then here is Bob Weir, one of the key manufacturers of this media for the masses, for the public. And he's just having a good old laugh with Bill Quinn over, the facts of what they're doing, over the.
Sorry to interrupt. Let me just read a quote here from his press report on his death. At the end of the war, General Quinn played a role in Washington in the transformation of the Office of Strategic Services, the wartime spy agency, into the Central Intelligence Agency. In late 1945, he was named director of the Strategic Services Unit, which had been set up to preserve OSS intelligence assets. In July 1946, he was named Chief of Operations of the Central Intelligence Group. He remained high in the job until 1947, when the organization became the CIA. Director of Central Intelligence George J. Tenet issued a statement after learning of General Quinn's death, hailing him as a leader and visionary who played an important role in maintaining the nation's intelligence capability between the end of World War II and the onset of the Cold War. In 1997, General Quinn was awarded the Agency SEAL Medallion. So if there's any questions out there, okay, and the whole FM radio stuff, this
wasn't just some low-level dude at the CIA. This is the dude at the CIA and OSS.
This is the guy that he was awarded the Agency SEAL Medallion. That's the highest honor of the CIA. This is a guy that is credited with creating the CIA from the OSS, and he also worked distributing propaganda. So he was also a director of the Defense Intelligence Agency. We knocked a couple back. You know what? The first thing to realize is that we've been so. Can I swear on the show? No.
Yeah.
You can bleep it out. We've been so fucking dumbed down that we don't realize that these people are ramming. They're saying it right in front of us, but because we're too stupid to listen to their words and what they're saying. You take that Bob Weir text, break it down. We pull so much material. I heard that, several years ago. We knocked a couple back. he surrendered with a mace. His entire statement, with the German word reference, with the reference of all this stuff. It's a place I don't talk about. It's where you go out of the limelight. So you could have said, you know what, this is a place, you know, I've been very successful. Here's what I would do. Okay, if I was him, I'd be like, you know, I've been very successful in my life, and you know, some of the more powerful people have taken interest in me, and I've been able to go to Bohemian Grove. You know, I don't really fit in there, but I felt, you know, it's been nice to try to connect our ideals with some of the powerful people, and they're not so bad.
Right.
He didn't say that. He went through a series of very deep answers with a Chomskyan evasion. Chomskyan evasions with admissions saying, yeah, well, there's no human sacrifice I witnessed. Ha ha. What does that mean? He didn't say there's no human sacrifices. He just said, I didn't see him. Why did he pick up General Bill Quinn? Why did he say he surrendered with a mace? I mean, there's like these not only occult references, insider references. There's another lower level of the language that average person's going to hear and be like, "Oh yeah, he just went there. It's cool, man. What are you bashing Bob, man? You're the man. You're part of the man." But all of these, the FM radio was, as we went through on our interviews, which I recommend everyone check out Jan's work on that. And my work. What the hell? I created
our work.
I'm just joking, man. I'm a stand up today because honestly, with 2 hours of sleep in 3 days, I think I'm doing pretty good. But let me say this, that this is actually getting pretty exciting for me in that we're drawing it together with, now it's not a question of conspiracy theory, you know, like the idea that Theodore Adorno wrote the Beatles lyrics. I mean, you want to talk about bullshit. Theodore Adorno was a 12-tone composer that, yeah, he worked for the Princeton Radio Project. He was this highly stilted, you know, intellectual Marxist German guy. He's not going to write the Beatles lyrics. That is massive disinformation.
Jewish German.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And,
you know, Frankfurt School was almost entirely Jewish, so we should make that clear because that's who he worked with.
Yeah. But the fact is that I would say it is an impossibility that Theodore Adorno wrote the Beatles music. Did he do their orchestrations?
Well, the only reference for that comes from John Coleman, and we can't verify it. There's no citation there.
Well, but see, what that is look at that as how many people have been absolutely misdirected. Buffalo Bill, who did you kill? Are the Beatles talking about Buffalo Bill? They're not American. Why do they give a shit about Buffalo Bill? Are they talking about Buffalo
Bill from the 1800s? Or are they talking about Wild, you know, General Quinn?
No, his name was Buffalo Bill. He went by Buffalo Bill. His units, his military unit was called the Buffaloes. He went by Buffalo Bill. Buffalo Bill Quinn. They didn't say, hey, Wild Buffalo Bill. They said, Buffalo Bill, who did you kill?
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Notice that. And also notice the fact that he brought up the one person he met. He could have talked about Kissinger. He could talk about anybody. He brought up the most powerful and important person who straddled that period, but who also ran and was the media liaison for wartime propaganda.
Right.
That is amazing. And then look at the song United States Blues. Look at the fact, the FM radio stuff, they're broadcasting all the Dead shows, right? The Grateful Dead. And I wanted to jump in whenever, but I wanted to hit a couple more things because basically Owsley Stanley not only did the sound system, not only had a massive occult agenda, as well as having a very deep, vast knowledge of psychoacoustics and acoustic sound technology, and having massive resources to design the sound system. But
it says on here the Beatles song is Bungalow Bill, not Buffalo Bill.
I always heard that as Buffalo Bill. There you go. Notice these lyrics. And sometimes the lyrics are different that are printed than what you hear. Did you think it was Bungalow Bill, or you thought it was Buffalo Bill?
I never thought it was Bungalow.
And maybe it's Buffalo Bill. Right there, look at this. Right there, I think we're honestly, man, it's why I'm kind of excited. Not because I just had 12 orgasms today, but because of the fact that that I think we're hitting this level, because there's a level of consciousness manipulation that's going on with the language, with the shadow language, with the twilight language. But let's look at Owsley Stanley. So this guy is self-taught chemist. Okay, he was a great electronics engineer, no doubt, right? He was an electronics genius. There's no question about that. But was he indeed a self-taught chemist that was producing tens of thousands of hits of LSD? And not only that, he funded the Grateful Dead completely until 1972.
Well, and look, he was working with, with Billy Hitchcock, and of course, Billy Hitchcock was the heir of the Mellon banking family that ran the Millbrook Mansion. That's Peggy Hitchcock's brother, but this is the big Billy Hitchcock and the Mellon banking family, and then he's got Millbrook Mansion. And then, we've got Stanley Osley and all these guys. This is the whole crew of these guys, a lot of them working with Tavistock and the Harvard Social Relations, like Artie Lang and Tim Leary and Ram Dass and Ralph Metzner and a whole bunch of these guys. But, this is the core of who was funding Osley Bear Stanley, and then he goes on to create the sound equipment for the Grateful Dead, and he's making all of the LSD for the Grateful Dead, and then the Grateful Dead and Kesey were behind the acid tests and all of this stuff. So it's this tight little nexus there with the intelligence community.
But Osley Bear Stanley was also, according to Jerry Garcia in a 1972 interview, he funded them for like 5-6 years. He said he completely funded everything. He paid them salaries.
Well, interestingly, it's also said by what's his name now? I'm forgetting his name, that runs the Church of the Subgenius, but one of these cults. But he states that Peggy Mellon Hitchcock funded the Grateful Dead's first album.
Well, okay, then you have that, and then also, but Stanley, again,
but Billy Mellon Hitchcock and Stanley Osley were working together, so it's only 1 degree separation there, no matter which way you look at it.
It's no degrees of separation. And then you got the LSD manufacturer and distribution ring. And then you have the fact that he designed the Grateful Dead's logo, their Steal Your Face logo, with the skull and the lightning bolt. That is actually the satanic lightning bolt. That is a satanic sigil.
Is that Prometheus's lightning bolt or something?
The sigil there. You see, AC/DC has that too. There's it's a sigil, which is like this occult sort of a symbol. And I got it when we were doing those interviews. I read a bunch of Crowley's books. And it really, I started being attacked by demons and stuff. So there, you have a satanic lightning bolt with red, white, and blue. Red, white, and blue. Notice the colors there. Notice
Uncle Sam, red, white, and blue.
Red and white and blue. You have this idea. You have the dialectical idea. But how many? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 of those points. Look at the number. I mean, to be honest, just for the audience, I'm just riffing on this stuff. We can go ahead and analyze this symbol for all the esoteric elements,
let's go,
which are massive. Steal your face. Steal your face right off of your head. Your face is your identity. Your face is who you are right out of your mind. I'll steal your wife. I mean, I'm Uncle Sam and hiding in a rock and roll band. I mean, we could analyze this. And in fact, I think it's important that actually, a lot of stuff I've done has been very much, look at that symbol right there. Look at all, this is not accidental. This is not a stoned out hippie. There's numerology in there. There's other elements. I'm sure that, we can look at that, but the red, and this is an occult symbol. This is a meditational, sort of like you call a yantra, that is being predicated. This is stuff is really deep, but I think that what's amazing is that you tie in the FM radio stuff, broadcasting the dead, going to the dead shows. We have direct admissions, and if we can get some testimonials from people about them using psychotronic weaponry during concerts, I mean, I don't think there's no more room for conjecture. And then you look at Stanley's, his the Kabbalon, whatever the hell which I haven't tracked down. And hi, I'm Owsley Stanley. You want some acid?
This is This is what Stanley Osley
Wait,
created.
look at that. That is not a joke. You don't need. You can do
They called it the sound wall.
because you cannot, in order to actually broadcast infrasonic sounds, they're impossible unless you have a very advanced system. You cannot do that. That's an infrasonic. That right we're looking at right there. This is sonic weaponry. Oh my God, I didn't even look at that because the only reason you need speakers like that is trying to do infrasound.
Look at that! Look at that sucker right there.
Dude, I'm almost getting chills right now because I think that we've cracked the egg. I mean, we've cracked, but I'm saying like, look at that.
We did discuss this in our Music, Mind Control, and Psychobiology series too, the Wall of Sound. But yeah, I mean,
what I mean is that
up there.
No. What I mean is, wait, just enlarge that picture, Jerry, right there. Look at that. Look at that. I mean, this is psychotronic warfare device right there. It's psychotronic weaponry, 100%. I mean, or else it's the galactic messengers trying to take you to a higher state of consciousness. Why the fuck do you need a sound system like that? It's not going to make it sound better unless you're trying to do specific frequencies that. I mean, because infrasonic sound, they're very difficult to recreate those. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, the Grateful Dead, they're pretty average musicians. They're okay. Jerry's kind of an attitude, he's a rambling guitarist. A couple of their tunes I might like, whatever. Does the Grateful Dead, are they a 75-piece band? They got a couple guys on guitar. And why you need a kind of a sound system for dudes noodling on a guitar? I mean, a guitar, if you have more than two speakers, you're going to lose your guitar tone. There is no reason for having this for a rock concert with a rock band. As a musician, as a sound engineer, I'll say 100%. There is absolutely no reason to have this many speakers. In fact, that's going to fuck your sound to all hell. This is deployment of very advanced technology. Very advanced technology. This is not some self-taught chemist dude that just got lucky selling LSD. This is highly advanced DARPA type stuff we're looking at here. This is DARPA. This is not, I mean, has anyone else before since ever used a sound configuration like that? Tell me. You have certain bands like, The Who, stacking 20 Marshall stacks. A sound comes from a single source point, right? You have a guitar, you might have a stereophonic mix. You don't need more than multiple sound points. So this, in terms of a configuring the sound for a 4-piece rock ensemble, you've got maybe 8 or 10, 7 drum mics. You got 2 or 3 vocal mics. You got a couple, dudes noodling on the guitar. Jerry Garcia, bang, bang, bang. Why the hell you need a sound system? They're doing stuff that the audience couldn't even hear. This is broadcast. Only reason you need that technology is to, this is, if you look at the psychotronic warfare stuff, we talked about this, but I'm seeing it in my face. It's one thing to be abstract. You're looking at right now, it's very advanced technology being deployed on an audience that
and this is 40 some years ago,
I mean, look at that.
Yeah, look at that one. Wow.
I'm blown away, man. This is unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean,
bigger and bigger.
No, I challenge.
The audience just ate it up, not even realizing that they were being experimented on with this. And then the guy who's giving them the LSD to create the hypersuggestibility in that state is the guy who's creating the sound wall, who's also working with Billy Mellon Hitchcock and with the CIA and with everybody else. Look at this,
Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, this, and see, LRAD is different, right? We talk about LRAD, loud sounds, there's crowd control stuff, that's different. Psychotronic, sound technology, one of the reasons it's not deployed more, I mean, you could, possibly use like cell phone towers to do that. But again, it's extremely hard to do that. You can't go at home and make up some, if you want, some girl to, have a nice time with you. You can't go home and engineer your home stereo system to broadcast these frequencies. You're going to need a vast array of speakers. You know, there's something called hemisync, right? Hemispheric synchronization, where you play two frequencies, they cancel each other out, and then your brain will recreate this infrasonic sound frequency, right? But to actually deploy an infrasonic sound frequency requires what we just saw. And again, I'm just going to reiterate this. If you think I'm repeating myself, you know, this is, to me, is essential, that if you're doing a rock band that is the opposite of what you want in order to get a clear, concise, tight sound and make it sound good, it's absolutely unnecessary. In fact, it would be totally antagonistic to trying to play a set with a band. So what the hell are those speakers being used for? And so the reference from the listener that called me, which I want to give him my heartfelt thanks, of hundreds of people having the exact same synesthetic experience at a Grateful Dead show. And then the admission right here, we see the FM radio, the technological aspect with the CIA, with the OSS, directly being deployed on the population. And these are causal chain and effect events. These are not speculative things. This is, in your face, steal your face.
All right. So, well, we have a few more minutes. Where do you want to go with this? You know, what we should do is, I know that Joe had a lot that he wanted to discuss with you. If you want to come back in the next week or two when Joe is back, we'd love to have you back again. What do you think? Yeah,
man. It'd have to be in a couple weeks.
We kind of segued into the Grateful Dead for most of the show here for the last 20 minutes too.
Yeah, I didn't. You know what? The one thing that because with the whole series we've done, I mean, I gave the architecture, but I think it's nice now to focus on very specifics. Let's go to the specifics.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to be in San Francisco this next week here, and so any listeners out in San Francisco, give me a call, bring me some tabs of acid. We'll just go and trip.
You can go hang out at the Presidio and, with all the Satanists over there and stuff. And, they got all that shut down. But, yeah, so, all right. Well, let's see. So you're going to be in California next week. So maybe week after, maybe we can get you on. Maybe I can, It's an 8-hour drive from where I'm at.
Oh, man. Well, come on down and hang out with me, man. I'll be there. But, I just want to say that, there's a number of things I didn't even touch on them. But, I think that, I do think it's now, this idea of let's bring this to the physical environment. And it's a little scary, but it's not, frightening, meaning that, wait, this is, you can, listen to David Icke and, it's conspiracy theory, and it's kind of fun. But then when you start to see that, wait, not only is their logo red, white, and blue, not only they have the lightning bolt, you have these weird number of teeth, and your people tripping on LSD. They're going into, out of body experiences, but you have the fact that, that he's admitting it about hanging at the Bohemian Grove, and he doesn't try to cover it up. It's kind of like Kennedy with the JFK assassination. Well, it doesn't really matter what happened to JFK. And he talks like Chomsky, and that's that Chomsky in advanced level linguistics. We have 3 or 4 different tiers of the language, which requires a great deal of training, which I certainly don't have, where you can talk to a general audience, you can talk to a semi-intelligent audience and misdirect them, and you can talk to the elite audience and say, hey, I'm one of you. Look what we're doing to these ignorant son of a bitches. And we're going all the way.
Eric Fromm and NLP and who was it? Carl Rogers and all of them at the CIA that created that. What was that? MK Ultra Subproject 97 or something like that was NLP and these guys. But
NLP actually started in the early 70s. John Grinder, Richard Bandler. You have a mathematician. And it started out in California.
But
and,
Carl Rogers worked with them and ties right in with Robert Anton Wilson and the whole group of them.
Fritz Perls, very important with NLP. And again, notice NLP had a big heyday, and then around the early 90s, it suddenly disappeared off the mainstream radar because it's being
Hans, we should probably give out your website. We're right at the end here, so.
Okay, hansutter.com, which is my sitar website. I've got it's mindcontrolmusic.wordpress.com, which I'm going to be updating later tonight. And anyways, yeah, it's awesome to keep this stuff going. And I just think that we're now in that moment of like, I feel like the whole thing is just going to just explode in a way that's much more than just having a bunch of information to actually give people tools to resist this stuff.
Great. Thanks everyone for watching, and until next week. See you then. Bye.
Conscious Consumer Network was designed to create a live broadcast TV network for free and independent media, and has been live on the air since the 1st of January 2015. CCN gets millions of minutes watched every month and is viewed in over 140 countries, having produced around 1,400 shows and counting.
And it's very hard to get on the mainstream media, of course, the corporate media that's getting tighter and more monopolized and more restrictive for any outside information.
The live broadcasts are free to view, and all shows are archived in high definition on YouTube. CCN plays host to a stellar team of broadcasters and producers, all of whom rely on the network to get their message and information out to the world. CCN has continued to evolve, constantly seeking to create greater media usage and opportunities for both broadcasters and viewers, including supporting projects such as the newly launched consciouscommunities.org, a brand new social media platform that is free to use and has been created for those dedicated to the pursuit of freedom, justice, peace, and sustainability to come together and co-create the solutions to a better world. Due to the constant heavy usage, we are in need of replenishing and replacing of key hardware and infrastructural wear and tear. This includes the fixing and replacing of parts of the live broadcast equipment system, as well as increasing storage capacities for content and projects. Without this, CCN and its affiliate projects will simply not be able to continue. Conscious Consumer Network is a publicly funded project, and it is up to you all to keep CCN on the air. Support our funding drive with a donation or become a monthly pledger. We thank you all for supporting free and independent media.